The next definition in our series is armor plate, and we're going to discuss what an armor plate is. And it is it's a piece of hardware, actually. It belongs in the hardware set, and we're going to talk about where in the hardware set it belongs. Armor plate is not to be confused with anything ballistic in nature. It's not any piece of equipment that you would need or install on a ballistic rated door, or a door that's going to be meant to be able to stop any sort of penetration by firearms, etc. It's literally a protection plate would be the governing term for what an armor plate is. Let's talk specifically now about armor plates. An armor plate is a protection plate. There are different protection plates that exist. They would be in no particular order. The most common would be a kick plate. A kick plate is going to be something in the range between basically 6 and 12 inch would be a good cutoff for that. You get north of 12 inch or maybe north of 16 inch, and then you have a different term that we use. We would call it a armor plate. So kick plates are 6, 8, 10, and 12 inch. You get above 12 inch, and then now we call them armor plates. Armor plates can be anything that's taller than a kick plate, all the way up to possibly the entire height of the door, but generally when it's an armor plate, it's going to be something that will be about 36 inch tall, okay, generally, if it's an armor plate. If someone called and said, I need to order an armor plate, I would think door width, well actually what I would think would be 36 inch by door width is what I would think. Under the umbrella of protection plates, in addition to kick plate and armor plate, would be a mop plate and a stretcher plate. Those would be the other plates. They all have their own applications and definitions. So a stretcher plate is literally 4 or maybe 6 inch tall. The width of the door. We'll define width of the door in a moment. It is mounted at a height such that should, in a hospital application, a gurney or a stretcher need to hit the door, it will hit the door, strike the door at a particular height, and that is where ideally the stretcher plate would be installed. A mop plate is the same size as a stretcher plate, but we install it in a different location. A mop plate is always going to be installed on the pull side of the door. A application for that would be in a common hallway of a hospital. You'll have patient room doors that will generally swing in. You could have doors in that same hallway that are storage, let's say custodial. Those doors will swing out. Down on the bottom of that door is where you would install that 4 inch tall, generally, mop plate. And it's named such that someone who's mopping the floor, when they hit the face of the door with their mop, they're not damaging the face of the door. So mop plates have a descriptive name and are about 4 inch tall, width of the door. Stretcher plates have a name that makes us think of what it's used for. 4 inch tall and then the width of the door. Kick plates now, they're 6, 8, 10, 12 inch width of the door, and they're always mounted on the push side of the door. Okay, so if someone says to you, I need a mop plate, that automatically tells you where they're installing it by definition per our industry. Then if someone says armor plate, they're referring to something that's clearly larger than the definition of a kick plate. Now, width of door, I've been saying that. Historically, it's always been 2 inch LDW, 2 inch less than door width. So if you've got a 3-foot door, a nominal 3-foot door, you would order a 34 inch wide kick plate, etc. That's fine. The definition to me has changed over the years and decades, really. I now see for a kick plate, when it's mounted on the push side, a kick plate, 1.5 inch LDW, so 1.5 inches less than your nominal door width. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. And what we're taking into account there is the door size in width, in its width, 3 foot nominally. Let's say it's 35 and 13/16. Then you've got the stops that project into the opening, and they're 5/8 generally on hollow metal doors, maybe 1/2 inch for wood, whatever the case might be. So 36 minus 5/8 minus 5/8 is 34 3/4. So they're saying door width less, 1.5 inches less than door width. So you'd have 1/8 of an inch margin between the stop and the plate. That's nice and tight. That's good and tidy. It's not a rule. It's not mandated. But I have seen 2 inch less than door width morph into 1.5 inches less than door width. And I don't disagree. You're putting the plate on there to protect the door. Let it protect the door. Now a mop plate has a different rule in the sense that when you're mounting it on the pull side of the door, you don't have any stops projecting into the opening. So in that case, you'll see 1 inch less than door width. So if you're speccing hardware on an opening and you have kick plates and mop plates, they will have different width pre-fit sizes based on the door width. Be mindful of that. Now, stretcher plates, that's always going to be mounted on the push side. It would follow the same rules as a kick plate. Now, when it comes to armor plates and kick plates as well, and all mop plates as well, you have to be mindful of other hardware that you're going to install on that opening. Meaning, what do you do if you have a kick-down door holder? Or what do you do if you have a surface vertical rod exit device? You have conflict of hardware that has to get thought through and discussed in terms of, well, what are we doing with this? We've got an armor plate, and then we have a surface vertical rod exit devices. Are we just going to mount the latches on top of the armor plate and drill through that stainless? Maybe. That could be the way that it will happen, but you have to be mindful of it. Now, being mindful of armor plates is that when you go tall on the door, you're very likely sooner or later going to run into your lock prep. It's not unusual to have a armor plate that will be 40 by 34, and then it has a large notch in the corner to accommodate the trim on the door. You have to be mindful of armor plates and conflict with exit devices and everything. And a really important concept is if you have a fire-rated door, currently in NFPA 80 it states that the plate cannot be higher than 16 inches off of the bottom of the door without that plate being labeled or listed, approved for use on a fire door. It'll have to bear visual evidence. So if you're doing a fire door and you're doing protection plates, under no circumstances can you order a standard kick plate and have it be above 16 inch measured from the bottom of the door, not the floor, not the bottom of the frame, but the bottom of the door is how that is. Now, when it comes to sequence and format, according to DHI, protection plates are under step 6. So when you're detailing an entire opening, this is the order in which you would list the hardware. And protection plates or door protection come under step 6. This is sequence and format from DHI. It is, I don't know if this is the publication number, TD-003-20. If you're writing hardware sets for people, you're going to want to, you will want to follow this order. You list this hardware first, then this hardware, then this hardware. Protection plates are step 6. Now, when it comes to writing out the part number, it can be very easily specified as armor plate, and then the height, 36 or 40 by 34.5. And then you're going to want to talk about, you can use a part number. So it could be armor plate and then manufacturer's part number. Give the size. You're going to want to specify the treatment on the perimeter of the plate. Is it beveled 4-edge or beveled 3-edge or no bevel whatsoever? You're going to want to specify the type of fastener that's being used, whether it be a wood door or it be self-adhesive or it be obviously oval head sheet metal screws. You're going to want to specify then the holes in the plate, if there are holes, are they countersunk or not? You're going to want to specify the finish, obviously. You're going to want to specify the hand if it's handed. If you had an armor plate that was notched, that now becomes a handed plate, to be sure. And then dash manufacturer. Your part number, after you put armor plate part number, depending on who the manufacturer is, it will certainly indicate part of those requirements. The gauge, is it 50 thousandths, is 125 thousandths, so that part number will be buried in there. But that's where you use armor plates. Let's switch to the screen view and just go over the SDI definition, and then we'll complete this. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, so our armor plate, a plate that can be of various materials and thickness applied to a door and or frame externally. It can extend to the full height and width of the door. You really want to watch out for hardware conflict in that case. Not to be confused with ballistic resistance armor. That makes perfect sense. Of course. Let's do this. Let's take a look at admittedly, I have forgotten what the cutoff is between kick and armor plate. Let's see if we can discover that. So I've pulled up the Hager manufacturer's page within our site, and be mindful, this can be Burns, this can be Hiawatha, this can be Ives, this can be Rockwood, and other people who make flat goods. The ubiquitous part, anyway, the ubiquitous part number is a 190S. Rockwood has their K0050. And we are... door protection plates. Sorry, we're here. Okay, door protection plates. The metal door protection plates below, okay, meet ANSI standard. I'm sure they all do. Now, they had set... the definition talked about... Well, the definition literally said, can be of various materials and thicknesses. Okay, so materials. Aluminum, brass, bronze, stainless steel. Plastic laminate. In plastic laminate, you can do clear as well as like a Kydex, which is it's a colored plastic is what it is. I don't really know the definition of Kydex. Let's back up. You can do Kydex, and let's see if we can find an easy definition of what that actually is. Thermoplastic acrylic polyvinyl chloride material manufactured by... Okay, so it's... Kydex is clearly a brand name, like Lexon is a brand name for polycarbonate, like Coca-Cola is a brand name for pop or soda. Thermoplastic acrylic polyvinyl chloride. All right. Then you've got clear plastic. Then you've got plastic laminate. Plastic laminate would very likely be put down to some base material because there are three thicknesses of plastic laminate: standard, vertical grade, and post form. And I think standard is no more than a 1/16 of an inch thick. So they probably put plastic laminate down to something, maybe hardboard, I don't know, but plastic laminate. And then you have your architectural metals here. So it can be different base materials is the point of that. And they also say different thicknesses. Now let's go back to the catalog. The 190S was 50 thousandths. The 223S is 62 thousandths, so that's a 1/16. The 214 is 125 thousandths, that's 1/8 of an inch. So you have different thicknesses. You have even something economy grade, 038. That's going to be even thinner. That's closer to a 32nd of an inch. If you're doing armor plates, I would not recommend something so thin. And if anything, go with 50 thousandths. And if the budget permits it, go with something thicker. If the volume demands it, 1/8 of an inch. But the 1/8 of an inch material in architectural metals like brass are astronomically expensive, hundreds of dollars. I had a client ask last week if clear plastic would be appropriate as an armor front or an armor plate. I said that it would, but in my experience, I find that they crack around the holes drilled for the screws. So be mindful of that. I would always prefer a more durable base material. Aluminum will dent, no doubt. Stainless steel is far more durable when it comes to just sheer volume over an opening. Okay, so different mounting types. You could do self-adhesive, you can do screw attach, you can do magnetic as well. We should be able to get magnetic tape applied. Labeling is not required when the top of the protection plate is not more than 16 inch above the bottom of the door. Okay, really important. This is the NFPA 80 standard outline. Mop plate, kick plate, stretcher, and armor. They don't give dimensional cutoffs, and the dimensions according to me, the definition is greater than 12 inch to me is an armor front. Pardon me, armor front. An armor front is a piece of hardware that covers a mortise lock case. Greater than 12 inch becomes an armor plate. So 6 to 12 for me are kick plates. Below 6 are mop or stretcher plates. Greater than 12 and all the way up would be an armor plate. Okay. And again, Hager is just one example of many manufacturers. The way that these are priced, protection plates, is per 100 square inch. I've never seen a manufacturer, other than just giving a net price for a size, calculate it differently. It's always per 100 square inch. So if your cost, let's say the list is $14 per 100 square inch, you know, probably bronze, oil rubbed. So if you have 34 times 36, that's how many square inches there are, 1,224. You divide that by 100, now you have 12.24. You multiply that by your list price, and that's the total list. Okay? That's your list price for that plate. And then you would add any extras, beveling, countersinking, mount types, special, you know, any sort of notching, things of that nature is where you're going to get into. And another thing with armor plates and kick plates, you have to be mindful of the screws that get pierced into the opening as well. Is it a lead line door? Is there hardware immediately below the surface, like maybe an automatic door bottom, that's going to be interfered with? Okay, so let's wrap up this video on camera. So that's what an armor front is. That's what protection plates are, as much as about them that I know. They're easy to specify. They're very often missed, and they do absolutely help extend the life expectancy, at least cosmetically, of a door. If you have a beautiful lobby area of a high-end hotel or a condo building, residential condo building, like the mailroom door or the door that leads to a garage, but it's still in the lobby space, so it could be, you know, anagray veneer. If oak, back many years, 25 years ago, if oak was $100 in terms of a door cost, anagray was $1,000. So you're going to want to be able to protect those doors properly. Once you break the fibers of the veneer on the door, there's no way to repair that, is the bottom line. And while armor plates, mop plates, kick plates, certainly stretcher plates aren't aesthetically pleasing, they're also very appropriate in terms of practicality. So I would suggest picking one that complements or matches the finish of the rest of the hardware, and you're in good shape. Let's move on to the next definition. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.